Clint Eastwood was standing in the scorching Spanish desert watching his director scream at a stuntman when he saw something that made his jaw tighten. The director, Sergio Leone, an Italian filmmaker with a volcanic temper, had been yelling for 3 minutes straight. The stuntman, a local Spanish kid named Miguel, who couldn't have been more than 22 years old, was standing there taking it, his face red with shame. Then Leone did something that crossed a line. He slapped Miguel across the face. Hard, the sound echoed across the desert, and Clint Eastwood, who'd been watching in silence, started walking. What happened in the next 5 minutes didn't just change that movie set. It taught one of cinema's greatest directors a lesson about respect that he never forgot. And it proved that Clint Eastwood wasn't just playing a hero on screen. He was one in real life. It was August 1964, Almería, Spain, a brutal, sun-scorched desert in southern Spain that looked enough like the American West to pass for it on film. Clint Eastwood was there shooting a low-budget Italian Western called A Fistful of Dollars. It was being directed by Sergio Leone, a passionate Italian filmmaker who had big dreams but a tiny budget. The whole movie was being made for $200,000. That included everything: actors, crew, equipment, locations. It was a shoestring operation held together by Leone's vision and sheer willpower. Clint was 34 years old. He'd been acting for almost a decade, mostly on television. He'd spent years playing Rowdy Yates on a TV Western called Rawhide. Steady work, decent money. But Clint wanted more. He wanted to be a movie star. When Leone's offer came through his agent, it wasn't much. $15,000 to spend 3 months in Spain shooting a Western. No major studio backing, no guarantees. Most of Clint's friends told him not to do it. It's a B movie. It'll kill your career. But Clint had read the script. He'd talked to Leone, and something told him this could be different. So he said yes. The shoot was rough from day one. The desert was unforgiving. Temperatures hit 110 degrees by midday. There was no air conditioning, no trailers. The crew stayed in a small hotel in Almería that barely had running water. The food was terrible. The schedule was grueling, and Sergio Leone was a perfectionist. He wanted every shot to be perfect. Every angle, every frame. He'd make them do 20 takes of a single scene if he wasn't satisfied. Leone was brilliant. Clint could see that. The man had a visual style unlike anything Clint had seen. The extreme close-ups, the wide shots of the landscape, the way he used silence and music. Leone was creating something new, a different kind of Western, grittier, more violent, more operatic. But Leone was also difficult. He had a temper. He screamed at people. He demanded perfection, but didn't always know how to communicate what he wanted. And he had a particular problem with the stunt crew. The stunt coordinator was a Spanish man named Jose, and he'd brought a local crew. Good guys, hard workers, but they weren't Hollywood stuntmen. They were bullfighters, rodeo riders, local guys who knew horses and could handle rough physical work. Leone didn't trust them. He thought they weren't professional enough, weren't precise enough, and he let them know it, constantly. Miguel was one of Jose's crew, a young guy, early 20s, who'd been doing stunt work for about 2 years. He was good on a horse, fearless, willing to do whatever the job required. But he didn't speak much Italian or English. Communication was difficult, and Leone's frustration with the language barrier often boiled over into anger. On this particular day, they were shooting a scene where Clint's character gets into a gunfight in the town square. There were 6 stuntmen involved, all playing bad guys who get shot. Miguel's job was simple: get shot, fall off his horse, hit the ground, stay down. Standard Western stunt. They'd rehearsed it twice. It looked fine. But when they went to film it, Miguel's timing was off. He fell half a second too early. The shot didn't match the sound of the gunfire. Leone yelled, "Cut!" He stormed over to Miguel, who was getting up from the dirt. Leone started yelling in Italian. Miguel didn't understand most of it, but he understood the tone. He was screwing up. He was costing them time. He was unprofessional. Miguel nodded, apologized in Spanish, said he'd get it right. They reset, tried again. This time Miguel was half a second too late. He fell after the gun sound. Leone lost it. He threw his hat on the ground, started screaming. Not just at Miguel, but at Jose, at the whole stunt crew. Clint was standing about 30 feet away in costume, watching. He saw the frustration building, saw Leone's face getting redder, saw Miguel standing there, young and embarrassed, trying to understand what he was doing wrong. They tried the stunt again. Miguel got it perfect this time, fell right on cue, hit the ground cleanly. It looked great. But Leone wasn't satisfied with something else in the shot. One of the other stuntmen had been in the wrong position, so they had to reset and do it again, and again. By the sixth take, Miguel was exhausted, covered in dust, probably bruised from hitting the ground so many times, but he kept doing it. Take 7. Miguel fell a fraction of a second early. Not much. Most directors would have accepted it, but Leone saw it. He called cut, and this time, when he walked over to Miguel, there was something different in his body language, something dangerous. The crew could sense it. People started paying attention. Leone got right in Miguel's face, started yelling, inches away. Miguel stood there, taking it, his eyes on the ground. Leone was gesturing wildly, his voice getting louder. Jose tried to step in, tried to explain that Miguel was tired, that they'd been doing this for an hour in 110-degree heat. Leone ignored him, kept yelling at Miguel. Then it happened. Leone's hand came up fast and cracked across Miguel's face, an open-handed slap. Hard enough that Miguel's head snapped to the side, hard enough that the sound carried across the desert. The whole crew froze. Miguel stood there, his face red, his eyes down. He didn't fight back, didn't say anything, just stood there. Leone was still yelling, telling Miguel he was unprofessional, that he was wasting everyone's time, that if he couldn't do the job, he should leave. And that's when Clint started walking. He'd been standing by the camera. He set down the poncho he'd been holding, took off his hat, and walked toward Leone. Everyone saw him coming. The crew went quiet. Leone was still yelling at Miguel, his back to Clint. Clint walked up behind him and said one word, "Sergio." His voice was quiet, calm, but there was steel in it. Leone turned around. When he saw Clint standing there, something in his expression changed. Clint wasn't smiling. His eyes were cold. He looked at Leone for a long moment. Then he said, "We need to talk. Now." Leone's jaw tightened. "Clint, this is not your business. This is between me and..." Clint cut him off. "It became my business when you hit him. Let's talk. Over there." He gestured away from the crew. Leone looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Clint's face told him that wasn't going to work. He nodded. They walked about 50 yards away from the crew, out of earshot. Everyone watched them go. Miguel was still standing there, his hand on his face. Clint and Leone talked for about 5 minutes. Nobody could hear what was said, but they could see body language. Clint standing still, arms crossed. Leone gesturing, defensive at first, then less so. At one point, Leone threw his hands up. At another point, he looked away, shaking his head. Finally, Clint said something and walked back toward the crew. Leone stood there for a moment longer, then followed. When they got back, Clint walked straight to Miguel. He put his hand on the young man's shoulder. "You okay?" Miguel nodded. His eyes were red. Clint looked at Jose. "Take 15 minutes. Get your guys some water. Let them rest." Then Clint walked to his mark and stood there, waiting. Leone stood by the camera. He was quiet. Then he said something to his assistant director in Italian. The AD walked over to Jose and Miguel. Whatever he said, it made Miguel look up. The AD gestured toward Leone. Miguel walked over, cautious. Leone looked at him. Then, in broken Spanish, he said, "Lo siento." "I'm sorry." Miguel stared at him. Leone said it again. "Lo siento, I was wrong." The whole crew heard it. Sergio Leone, the director, apologizing to a stuntman. Miguel nodded. "Está bien." "It's okay." Leone put his hand on Miguel's shoulder. "You are doing good work. I was frustrated. I took it out on you. That was wrong." They finished the scene in 2 more takes. Miguel got it perfect. Leone actually smiled and gave him a thumbs up. When they wrapped for the day, the mood on set was different. Quieter, but somehow better. That night, Clint and Leone had dinner together at the hotel. Leone brought a bottle of wine. They sat on the patio, looking out at the desert. Leone was quiet for a while. Then he said, "You were right to stop me today." Clint sipped his wine. Yeah, I was. Leone leaned back in his chair. In Italy, in my country, directors can be passionate. We yell. We push. It is how we work. Clint looked at him. There's a difference between pushing people and hitting them, Sergio. You crossed a line. Leone nodded. I know, I was angry, frustrated. The shot was not working and we are losing light and… He trailed off. There is no excuse. Clint was quiet for a moment. Then he said, that kid Miguel, he's working his ass off for you, for this movie, for almost no money and brutal heat. He's doing dangerous work, and he's doing it because he believes in what we're making. The least you can do is treat him with respect. Leone stared at his wine glass. You are right. I know you are right. Clint leaned forward. I don't care how they do it in Italy. I don't care what your vision is or how passionate you are. You don't hit people. Ever. You want to yell? Fine. You want to be demanding? Fine. But the second you put your hands on someone, you lose my respect. And if you do it again, I walk. I don't care if we're halfway through the movie. I walk. Leone looked at him. You would really leave? Clint's voice was flat. Try me. They stared at each other. Then Leone nodded. It will not happen again. I promise you. Clint nodded. Good. It didn't happen again. For the rest of the shoot, Leone was demanding. He was still a perfectionist. He still yelled sometimes, but he never hit anyone. He never crossed that line, and his relationship with the stunt crew changed. He started treating them with more respect, learning their names, thanking them. When Miguel nailed a particularly difficult stunt a few weeks later, Leone hugged him. A Fistful of Dollars became a massive hit. It made Clint Eastwood an international star. It launched the spaghetti western genre. It made Sergio Leone one of the most influential directors in cinema history. They made 2 more films together, For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Both were classics. And on those sets, Leone was different. Still passionate, still demanding, but respectful. He'd learned something in that Spanish desert, something Clint had taught him. Years later, in an interview in the 1980s, Leone was asked about working with Clint. The interviewer asked what Clint was like as an actor. Leone thought for a moment, then he said, Clint taught me something more important than acting. He taught me that you can demand excellence without losing your humanity, that you can push people to be better without breaking them. I was a young director. I thought being tough meant being cruel. Clint showed me that real strength is knowing when to stand up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. Stories like this one deserve to be remembered. The moments when legends proved they were human. The acts of courage that happened behind the scenes. If you want to hear more stories about the people who shaped an era, the moments the cameras didn't capture, and the humanity that defined them, this channel tells those stories. Because these aren't just tales about famous people. They're lessons about doing what's right. Miguel continued doing stunt work for another 20 years. He worked on dozens of films, some big, some small. He eventually became a stunt coordinator himself. And he had one rule that he never broke. He never yelled at his crew, never demeaned them, and he sure as hell never hit anyone. When younger stuntmen asked him why he was so patient, so respectful, he would tell them the story of Clint Eastwood on that desert set in 1964. How Clint had stood up for him when he couldn't stand up for himself. How Clint had taught a famous director that respect matters more than perfection. Clint Eastwood went on to become one of Hollywood's greatest actors and directors. He made dozens of films, won Academy Awards, became an icon, but people who worked with him always said the same thing. He treated everyone with respect. Crew members, extras, stuntmen. It didn't matter who you were. If you were working on his set, you were part of his team, and he protected his team. That's the Clint Eastwood story that should be told. Not just the man with no name, not just Dirty Harry, but the man who stopped a scene in the middle of the Spanish desert to defend a stuntman who'd been slapped. The man who looked a director in the eye and said, "You don't hit people, ever." The man who understood that real heroism isn't what happens in front of the camera. It's what happens when someone needs you to stand up for them, and you do it without hesitation. On that August day in 1964, in a 110-degree heat in the Spanish desert, Clint Eastwood proved he was exactly the man he played on screen. Strong, principled, willing to face down anyone when it mattered. And Miguel never forgot it. None of them did. Because that's what heroes do. They see something wrong and they step in. Even when it's not their fight. Even when it costs them something. They step in. And that's the kind of legacy that lasts forever.